What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first con was so good. It's Friday Junior.
It's Friday Junior, it's podcast day, it's payday.
And then you come out doing a like, doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raff, and always before we start the podcast, because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Carl, aka the BeerBuddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. You're second on the dude. Fantastic.
How you doing, everybody? Good to see you on this lovely Thursday night. I hope you're doing well. I am the Reverend Raff. This is my good friend and co-host Kyle, aka the BeerBuddy, and we are the two dudes who talk music, and we're here with another interview. But before we dive into that one, mate, how you doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic. I'm always fantastic when we're doing these things, man. I've been
It's always a good day.
Other than my shoulder being a complete arsehole, it's just I'm just in constant pain. But alcohol helps and painkillers help, and this is great. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going a bit stir crazy not being at work.
I can imagine.
How have you been?
Look, mate, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I've been down with a bit of a cold
Ooh,
for
down
the
with the
last
sickness?
little while. Down with the sickness. Awakakaka. But, we're getting there. I'm on the road to recovery, so I've got to be back at work tomorrow. I can't afford to have any more time off, unfortunately. So hopefully I don't get too many phone calls and lose my voice, but we'll see. But no, man, I had a good night. I had a good last Friday night, I actually went out and saw something really cool, something a bit different. It was a string quartet rendition of a bunch of Pink Floyd songs.
Oh, that would have been
performed by candlelight in the Masonic Hall in Brisbane. So that was really nice.
Wow.
Some really unique renditions and arrangements of some of those songs. It really, it's just something that I realized as I was listening to them, and I'll see if I can throw a bit of a clip in the intro here, if I can make that work. But it was just really cool. The way they manipulated their instruments to do some of the synthy parts on things, and whenever you got string quartet or these stripped back renditions of these songs, it's really interesting because the elements that they pick to actually include sometimes will bring different elements musically, melodically, rhythmically to the fore that maybe you don't notice as much when you listen to the original versions of these things. So, and that was, having it by candlelight, it was just like a nice, really special thing. And they do a bunch of them up here in Brisbane. So if you're in Brisbane and around Brisbane, check it out. It's just called like Candlelight, whatever. And it's by the group, the string quartets, I think, called Paradiso Strings. And they do a ton of cool stuff. I know they've got a Nirvana one coming up, and they do
that'd be interesting.
They do a bunch of like modern bands as well as, classical music and various genres to just keep it interesting and switch it up. So if you want to check that kind of stuff out, it's well worth doing. It's really, really cool. But look, let's dive into today, man. We have a band called What You're Made Of that you actually saw not long ago yourself,
with
right?
the Last Martyr. Yeah, I saw them with the Last Martyr, and at a show called Catastrophe, where they put two cover bands on over at the Crowbar. It was a sold out show, and one of these guys knows a good friend, and I managed to see them, and I love me a bit of pop punky sort of vibes and stuff like that. And these guys do it really well, and the live performance is really special too.
Awesome. Well, look, let's dive into it. Let's get into this chat with What You're Made Of. Thank you very much for joining us, boys. We very much appreciate you taking some time out of your evening to chat with us. So, why don't you introduce yourselves for the viewers?
Yeah, so my name's Sean. I'm the singer of Short Stack. We're from Jeremy, singer for What You're Made Of. Sammy.
I play guitar in this band.
Mooney, and I play the other guitar in this band.
Yes.
There's
Awesome.
a third guitar. Liam, he's not here today. And
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, it's still a guitar.
No.
Don't have that
No,
argument.
you've gotta
Don't start
make
that
that
argument with me.
distinction.
Don't start that argument
Got
with
to
me.
make that clear distinction.
Awesome. So, yeah, so you guys are here today to talk about your upcoming single that you've got coming out in July. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yes. Which
Wonderful.
you guys played that at the latest show, the last show you played at the Crowbar with is that Catastrophe?
Yeah,
It was a
Is that what? Yeah.
show, but we haven't played the single yet.
No.
We played
Okay.
the single that we just released a few weeks ago,
Mm.
which is It's All Uphill From Here. We played that. That was the first time we've played that song live. But our next single that's coming out, which is Hasta La Vista Loca, that we have not played that yet.
No.
A little bit Terminator, a little bit Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love punk band song names.
You gotta
like
get that traditional line. Too many boring.
yeah.
But also, like, punk names have changed. They used to be sentences, if you remember, like back in the 2000s.
I know, but that's why I
I
love you. I used to be indecisive, but now I'm not sure.
I was, there was a band that I used to, back when I lived in Sydney, I studied music at TAFE. And a couple of the guys that I was studying with were in a band called Me Versus You. And they had I think their EP their EP had a song called songs like The Rise and Fall of Rick Moranis, Living in a Van Down by the River, all those kind of titles. And I'm like, yeah, it's right in that pocket of that kind of stuff. And I dig it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It is. You got to have fun with it though, right? You got to have fun. You can't be, even though it's alternative music, you can't be all serious about it all the time. Otherwise, where's the point?
It's not the best for marketing, but it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, it makes for difficult SEO.
Yeah. Like, we don't even know what it stands for, so it doesn't matter to us.
I think there's always an element of fun to, I think, this genre in particular.
Well, there has to be. I mean, there has to be.
Yeah, of course. Like, if you look at bands like when I was we were growing up, like Blink-182 and Good Charlotte, and how they were on stage, like half the time it was like a comedy show, and half the time it was a music show. So you kind of just got to embrace it.
Yeah, very tongue in cheek. You need to be able to, because that's it. I mean, I think that branch, that kind of pop punk branch, I guess, kind of came out a little bit on the heels of grunge, which was embracing the depression side of things and the melancholy and the like, everything sucks and I'm sad. Whereas this was the flip side of that, which was everything sucks, so I may as well find joy where I can and just be happy, and and that side of it. So
I'm happy in my sorrow.
Yeah. So give us a bit of background on the band. Like, how did you guys get started? How long have you been around?
Yeah, wow. We've been around since 2013. And it sounds strange. Like, the original band formed. Yeah, because Apple Store.
Sure.
The first iteration. So the first iteration of the band was started at Apple Store Penrith. And it was myself and a guy named Ryan. And we started writing a few songs, and Jack, another guy that was at the Apple Store, came in and played some bass. And then we were like, hey, we need a drummer. And that's when we found you, Sam.
Because I was friends with Ryan.
Correct.
I knew Ryan from a separate circle.
Yeah.
So he brought me in.
And then we needed a bass player.
So we brought my brother in.
Your brother
He's not here, thank goodness.
And yeah, like the early years of the band was really just like writing music and chilling out. It was more like a social thing than
Yeah, it's still just doing it for fun, I guess.
Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, some of our songs that I played to people, Sam played to people, were like, hey, this is actually really cool. Where do we go and, like, listen to this? Like, I don't know, like, it's not on Apple Music or iTunes or anything. So we started to take it a bit more seriously.
Mhm.
We started playing some shows. We played our first show at the Tattersalls in Penrith.
Fucking Tats, man. Like I was like, Penrith is like where I grew up. Like I'm all these places, and I'm just like, yeah, it's great.
You know, and that was our very first show. We were like, I remember we were like super anxious, and we were like planning every little tiny thing.
As you do.
You have to.
The band before us went like 40 minutes overtime.
Oh,
Do you remember? And the guy,
They went ages over. Yeah,
Yeah.
we basically
whole
started
set.
setting up our gear on the stage
while they were playing.
They just wouldn't stop playing, so we started setting up until like.
I guarantee it's because there was one of their mates in the crowd just go, rubber song.
But when you're the first, like, we were lucky that we weren't even the first band. When you're the first band, you can't just sort of keep playing.
It's just disrespectful, you know. Like it's like it shows that you don't have the self-awareness or the, you know,
Fucking manners.
and you've just got this massive ego of like, well, we're more important than everyone else, which is not. It's not going to get you far.
Yeah, even a punk show's got etiquette.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, all that shit's really got to be left for after the stage. I mean, once you sort of walk onto the stage, there's got to be there's rules to this shit. Like,
Are they still around? Is that band still going or no?
Look, I've not heard of them since.
But we also haven't actively gone looking for them either.
Yeah,
Okay. I was going to say, if you want to name and shame them, go for it.
No, never.
Some people say the set still hasn't finished.
yeah.
Still play. Oh, but no, I sorry to answer you. Like, to finish that question off.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
As we got more serious about the music, some people were like, oh no, I want to start families, and some people were like, oh, we're moving to different states and stuff. And so we brought it.
I'd already started a family, then I joined.
You got brought in late.
Yeah.
No, these are our previous members. And then we brought in, members such as Mooney here, and Austin, our drummer, who, is super professional and he does this for a living. And our sound sort of grew, and we'll talk about it a bit later, but we developed as a performing band as well. We weren't just sort of fucking around anymore. But that's kind of how we formed. We've kind of just been doing it ever since, sort of periodically, except for that 1 year in COVID where we kind of couldn't.
Everyone couldn't.
It's a bit more of a natural sort of thing. Like, we were hanging out playing music, and then we went, oh, maybe we should record them. Maybe we should start playing them, rather than a group of guys getting together going, we're definitely going to be a band straight away.
Yeah.
It sort of grew, which is why I guess it seems like we've been around for a long time. We've just known each other for so long.
That's right.
Then finally putting it together, we probably really got serious about, I guess, 2018 or something.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Is when we started really recording and
releasing things,
looking for shows and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good.
Cool.
Good.
And
that's when it started on Spotify, from what I can see.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then, yeah.
In 2018, and then we had the just as you sort of get cemented in, we had it. Well, everyone had it.
Yeah. The big disease.
Yeah.
Big spicy cough. We still were kind of, we did some musical stuff just remotely. Like, we did some like YouTube videos, and we did like some fun covers and stuff. But no performances, obviously. No,
but that's mate. That look, we say it on here. Fuck it, we say it on here all the time. It separated the players from the stayers.
Yeah,
all the bands, it did. It did. Everyone that actually was serious about their music, that were in established bands, kept on going. Everyone that found new blisses ducked out because they realised music wasn't where it was at for them, really. Then you had a lot of bands that have broken up, reconnect as well. For example, Automation. I mean, they've come back in a big way. They were a band back in the day when like Mortal Sin were kicking around and stuff like that. Really hard.
Yeah. What about COVID brings a band back together? Like,
I think because you get a bit of time. So you sit there and you're like, oh, I'm stuck at home. Like, dust off the old guitar.
Mate, I'll put it to you that the only reason why music is as good as what it is now after COVID is because a lot of kids that were hunkered down at home got an opportunity to break into mum and dad's shit because everyone was spring cleaning and stuff, dust off the old albums, plug in the old CD player, and find out what fucking albums were about.
Yeah,
You see, okay, Raff. When I
Yeah.
saw when I saw these lot, when I saw what you made of at the Crowbar, that was at a show that was run by Catastrophe. They put on these shows, however so often. I'm actually going to try and get them on here because I really want to talk to them about it.
Mhm.
But they did System of a Down, Toxicity, the whole album front to back, and they did Hybrid Theory front to back, and they threw in a couple of extra songs here and there, right?
Yeah.
Bro, the thing sold out a week or two
Yeah,
before.
It's their biggest show.
It's their fastest selling show that they've sold out in the,
Mm.
I think they've been doing it for 6 years or so.
They've been doing it for 6 years, and this sold out super
Yeah.
quick.
So obviously
What's-
they do different albums in full each time.
Yeah.
But it shows there's people out there still
Interesting.
keen.
Mate, still queuing for the old stuff too. That's what spun me out. I'm thinking, like, sure, but do the amount of young people that were in there?
Yeah.
See, I think what's been interesting to me is the proliferation over the last, like, kind of since coming out of COVID. I feel like this has been more prevalent. I could be wrong. It could be just I didn't notice it prior. But for me, something I've noticed since COVID is we're getting a lot more combined shows where, because I feel like it used to be the tribute and cover bands would stick with the tribute and cover bands, and original bands would stick with original bands, and you wouldn't really get a lot of crossover between the two. But I feel like we're seeing that more and more now, partly because people are realizing that cover bands and tribute bands, if they do it well, are a draw,
Yeah. 100%.
and they can be a really great way to get some people through the door. And pairing it with, some good originals bands, especially if they piggyback stylistically off what the cover band's focused on, it can be a great way to be like, hey, if you're a fan of this band, this big band, you may want to check out these guys.
And the attitude of the punters that come along, like it wasn't full, but it was like pretty full for an opening band.
Yeah.
For us playing on
100%.
Saturday night, and then for the second band, The Last Martyr. Like, it was mostly a full room, but
That's it.
because people that want to see those bands, the cover bands, are still making sure they come down early to check them out. Like, it's an attitude of, we want live music again. Let's make
Get
it
it done. Yeah.
And it was the best marketing move doing it like that. I mean, the fact that, look, at the end of the day, all you want is a sold out show. Don't get me wrong. People go in there for the crowd and stuff like that, but I guarantee if you had 4 original bands there, that shit would not have sold out.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me to say it.
We'll probably
Because we're seeing it now. Like, big Australian bands are still struggling to sell out shows, or if they're putting it on their own, and they're sticking to smaller venues, which is a good idea.
Although, hopefully, I mean, we saw recently I don't know if it was. We saw recently there's a push to bring back the legislation that requires international bands to have Australian supports and to announce them and perform on, they have to be performing on the same stage, and if they're touring it, they have to have an Australian support. It has to be announced ahead of time. It's not just whoever's on the day. Like, they have to be announced on the bill and everything like that, to help push and promote Australian music, which is, I mean, I'm amazed that hasn't remained intact. I think it's something that used to be a thing and kind of went away. But I'm glad to see that it's come back, because that is going to help revitalize, and it's going to help bring more Australian bands to the fore. It's going to give Australian bands more opportunities to get in front of their home crowds, while expanding their reach at the same time. And hopefully it's done on merit, rather than just, oh, hey, yep, I know this band. But I guess we'll see how the implementation goes. And
if it is that, look, it gives bands something to work for, man. Do you know what I mean? If everyone knows that it's a guarantee, it gives you something to aim for. It's not like,
long shot.
You're trying to, it's not. It's You hope that the band knows about you.
I don't know if it's the same for every band, but I think being on an international band's gig or bill is like one of the huge stepping stones for a band. Right? Exactly, that's like the dream. And so,
especially for a band like us, where lots of our idols are international bands. There's not a massive Australian pop punk scene. Like,
Yeah, not
Like not to the same extent of your Blink-182's.
Yeah.
Good Charlottes coming out.
Yeah, I think that's changing now too with your sites like emo nights with AMPM at the Burdekin Hotel and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
is
It's growing in popularity again.
it is, and from what I've actually heard, they still play all the stuff that we used to listen to. What was popular back?
They absolutely do.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, they say it's a classics, and I'm like, this was fresh. This was fresh for me.
Yeah, but mate, that's like when you go to a metal club and they play the same playlist every fucking metal club you go to because it's the new metal songs that everyone wants to hear. It's like Edge Crusher and fucking Toxicity and
Static X.
what is this? Yeah.
No one's complaining though.
No.
Let me tell you, I am because I was in the few occasions when I have DJ'd at some of these metal clubs way back.
Right.
I was like, I want to play something a little like I don't just want to play the same fucking songs that get played every week. I want to play something different for people, and so I tried to do that. And then the promoter comes up to me and is like, man, just play these ones, please. Like, don't. And it's like, but those are the same ones that get played every week. And it's like, yeah, it's the songs that people dance to. So play those ones, please. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck. Well, then why do you even have a DJ? Like, just make your playlist and hit random and do that. Like, don't fucking make me.
Sorry, Raff, but you will be discouraging all those poor. Oh, I'm not gonna be. Nah, you will do all those poor young men that DJ. Who are they going to pick up? But the drunk girl asking for the for the request.
Hopefully, no one.
Hopefully, fucking no one. Oh, dude.
I think when we played at AMPM, the bartender was the DJ for like some of the other emo nights we've seen. So it must be like a scene related thing. Like I remember back at Hot Dan, you'd have the same DJ going over and over. Oh, what a time, 100%. And now that DJ, you see him at like Burdekin Hotel sometimes on a Saturday night. And in this instance, he was fucking at the bar. But like, is that the reason that we keep hearing the same playlist that shows? Is it just the same?
Maybe it's Andrew.
I mean, I think
it's Andrew from Club Link.
You get a lot of the same DJs doing the events because they all a lot of them all know each other and they kind of make those connections and do all of that. But I think it's like, yeah, I don't know. It never sat right to me with all the metal clubs to go to, and I think it's part of the reason that I never really got into going to the clubs. Like I'd go for the bands. Like I'd go to like Blink and Venom when there was bands I wanted to see, and I'd see the bands. I'd go and watch the fucking bands. Yeah. But I rarely would I spend a lot of time hanging out on the club level because I'm like, if I want to listen to these fucking songs, like if I want to listen to these songs and get drunk with friends, like I'll do that at home where it's cheaper and I don't have to deal with fucking all of these people I don't fucking like. And all the drunk dickheads that are going around trying to pick up, the fucking dickheads that are going around trying to pick up the drunk girls. And like, I don't know. It's just me being it's just my introverted side coming out, I guess.
It was actually the main reason why I hated Toxicity so much because every fucking weekend when I used to go out to the heavy metal clubs, it was all that would get played and you hear that. I actually haven't listened to that album in 20 fucking years. So when I heard it the other night, I was blown the fuck away. Like, dude, it hit different.
They did it well as well. Like,
dude, but you know what amazed me?
I think that was Serge. The guy at Vocalist was incredible.
Dude, he was so good. But what spun me out is that if anything, that album is more relevant now than what it was 20-something years ago when it came out.
Future, yeah.
I mean, that's what, a lot of political activism remains relevant, if the changes don't come through. So,
but it's more relevant, Raff.
Yeah. All right. So what's So yeah, the first EP that you guys released back in 2018. So you're saying that was called "Look Where It Is and You'll Find It."
Yeah.
Great
Never
advice.
a true statement.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Straight out of Lizzie Nature's mouth. That one.
It's like I hate it when people say that shit. It's always the last place where you look. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't keep looking after you found it. Yeah, and obviously, like Simpsons fans, I can tell as well. Yeah. With everything's coming up Millhouse.
Yeah.
Whenever we write anything, you always put a working title with the idea that you're going to put a different song name. You just never do. And so it sticks.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm just here for the dumplings.
I think that's half the reason. I think that's half the reason pop punk song titles ended up the way that they did, because they're just like, just a silly working title, blah blah blah, and then they couldn't, people can't figure out what to call it, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite an EP. That was, very sort of like budget. We did that in our, own time, our own garage, our own microphones, like it was all very, actually no, we recorded the drums didn't we?
For some of the songs we did.
Yeah. Okay.
And then some of them we recorded them at home.
Yeah. But
it was really our first sort of foray into properly recording. Like none of us had really done it outside Year 9 music at school. So, we were throwing ourselves in trying to learn everything we could.
But like not taking it too, like we knew we weren't going to be like a massive radio. We weren't going to have that production value. So we do the best we can, I guess. And we're
really recording it so that our friends could
listen to it. That's right.
That's good.
Exactly.
That's good. You did it for the fans.
So was that was an entirely in-house effort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Entirely in-house.
Nice.
It just felt good seeing it in public spaces, like, Spotify and stuff. So it's kind of like, it ties a bow that, all this time that we've been a band and doing stuff and our friends, appreciate us and we're writing all this stuff, it actually culminated to something, the last. So that was a huge moment for us.
It's amazing how you feel when you actually have that, you listen to that physical copy that you've just done. It's done and dusted. You can sit down. You can't do it. It's out there. It's out in the world. There are no more changes that can be done, and you just get to sit there and enjoy it.
That's 100%. And
or hate yourself.
Like
remember the band you like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, retrospectively, we'll go back and be like, wow, that song that we wrote in 2015 that we released in 2018. It's actually really fucking good. And we get this element of wow, we actually did that. So no, it was monumental for us.
It's funny that it can sometimes take a while for you to come around to things like that with your own songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how did it pass quality control in a way, but it's also but it's so cool at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is there do you guys sort of work with I guess an underlying message or theme throughout most of the songs that you write? Is it all just kind of a bit, I don't know, whatever lyrics fall out of my mouth? Is there
sort of depends on who writes it. So we have a
bit of a process.
Yeah, or we don't really have sort of a one songwriter process. So we all sort of come to each other with different ideas. So oftentimes Jez will come with an instrumental idea, and then maybe I'll go and do some lyrics to it, or the other way around. I might go and do some, I might do the instrumental part, and Jez will do the lyrics. Mooney will come with instrumental parts, or my brother Liam, he'll come with a song, and they're all, you can sort of tell
they kind of belong in the same.
Like with Blink, a Mark song or a Tom song.
Yeah.
And we can sort of tell what's a Sam song or a Jeremy song or a Liam song. Mine are usually tend to be a bit more on the emo side, a bit darker.
Might be a bit
lyrically. Yeah, Jez is a bit more of the poppy pop punk side, the bit more bouncy, things like that. When my brother writes one, it's a bit more the Smith Street Band, a bit more raw kind of songs. But we never really wanted to rule out any songs because we go, this doesn't sound like us. We're like, well, we made it.
It is us.
Yeah. So we'll put it.
That's the best fucking attitude to have.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So our underlying themes sort of change around. There's no real sort of this is. Like you're saying, System of a Down's I've got a clear message, that goes throughout their whole sort of discography. But for us, it's just where we are in that moment when we write the song, and if that matches the next one, it matches the next one. If it doesn't, it doesn't,
I think I think we're lucky though, because the bands that inspire us individually, there's like a lot of crossover there. And so when someone like Sam writes a song, or Mooney writes a song, or Liam writes a song, and as I said, like, it sounds different, but it doesn't sound too far apart that it doesn't identify as what you're made of.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair enough. And I think it's you know, where there is a lot of crossover is always beneficial, but you don't want to complete crossover, because otherwise everything sounds a bit homogenous. You know, want everyone to bring their flavor to what you're doing, and I think that that's so important, because from speaking, I mean, I guess speaking from my experience with stuff is, you know, I've had bands where I've either jammed with or I've like been a part of their stuff, and it's, you know, I'll be like, hey, like, do you want me to do strictly what's there, or do you want me to bring like my
Flavor.
sort of style, like my flavor onto that? And, you know, they'll come through, just do what it, like, you know, obviously that's kind of pretty close to what we want, but, you know, you bring your style, like, that's why we want to work with you, and we've got your style there. So, all right, cool, no worries. And I'll put that in there. And I mean, I've noticed that a lot of the stuff that I tend to do across the board with different stuff, and I, you know, and different habits and things that I tend to repeat, stylistic elements of, but it's you're still like very much my like flavor and style, and I think that that's super important to have that as a musician, you know, because you don't just want to play like that
all the time.
Exactly there, like you want, no one wants someone to just be a robot. And like, obviously there's, in studio sessions, it's a different thing, right? If you're a studio musician, people are going to tell you what they want you to play, and you got to play it. But if you're in a band working with people that way, you know, you've been brought into the band usually because you've got a distinct thing that you can offer, and I think that that's always super important. And that's, you know, bands that come in and say, we're like one or two people do, and every band's different, right? Like, every band's different. Every band is going to have, you know, some bands are going to have these things where it's like, you know, one or two people do all the songwriting and they kind of tell everyone else what they want, and that's fine, I guess, you know, but in those cases, like, just be the band. You know, just those people just be the band, right? Like, be the band. Those two people should be the band and get session musicians for the rest of it. You know, you're like, you don't fake it. Don't bring in a bass player to be a part of your band and then not let them do their thing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
there's
that's
a collaborative effort.
Well, yeah.
We sort of try and pull from all our different influences, because although all in that sort of old music or, you know, punk sort of scene, all our influences are still relatively on pretty spread out across that spectrum.
Yeah.
Just like I liked all the hardcore kind of under oath kind of bands. I was always a bit heavier, a bit screamier. Jazz was always very State Champs, Blink-182, nice and clean. Mooney's a bit more old school punk, you know, a bit more MXPX, Rancid. My brother is very
Wonder Years.
Yeah, he loves the Wonder Years or the Smith Street Band, stuff with bad singers that you don't like.
Yeah.
And
The Ryans?
and our drummer does like musical theatre. So
Oh, wow.
so like that's his job, you know.
That's
so we
mad.
bring all that together and just go, you know, I've got this idea,
What
and
works?
then we play it, and you know, you do your thing, we'll do ours. You know, I started playing drums for this band, and now we've got Austin who plays drums, but I don't sort of try and sit there, you know, too much and go, this is the exact drum thing I want.
Yeah.
So this is the track, this is what I put down.
Do what you do.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
But it helps to have an idea, right? Like, to be able to go, I want kind of, this is what I'm feeling, but, you know, you do you, and then we'll see where it goes, you know?
Well, that should be the attitude. The attitude should be, I've come up with something. I can't wait to see what you'll do with this.
yeah.
That should, when you're in a band and that collaborative thing, that should, like, when you come up with something cool, that should be your first thought. I can't wait to see what the rest of the boys, like the rest of the band, does with this.
Yeah.
And it's like well in our catalogue too. Like, we played different shows over the last little spell where we played like an indie type show, and we had a different set list for that,
you're
that way, and then for the catastrophe show, with the heavier bands,
heavy
pull out heavy stuff, and like we've got this catalog that's got stuff that branches all different elements of the scene that reflects who we are.
Precisely. I mean, that's something. That's kind of something I wanted to do with Skunkbone. That's something I wanted to do with Skunkbone, right? Like when I was doing that, was I wanted us to come up with acoustic renditions of everything, like pretty much all of our songs. I wanted us to have an acoustic version of it. Yeah. Not, and it doesn't have to be necessarily soft. It could still be like pretty close to what was there, but I wanted us to come up with an acoustic version of it. So I'm like, hey, that way, if we're looking for more show opportunities, we can do acoustic shows. We can do shows that are more set up for that wouldn't necessarily work with us playing it the way we normally would, right? And have those alternate versions of it. And then you can even record those versions of the songs and have them to release simultaneously with, or maybe not even simultaneously, but put them out eventually alongside the other stuff. Yeah. And it just broadens the opportunities for shows. And that doesn't work with everyone, right? Like, you can't take like fucking Cannibal Corpse and do that sort of thing with it. But
it'd be hilarious.
Like you've got,
I'd love to hear. I want to come by.
But I think that's something that's something that I think is an under explored thing, especially these days when gigs are getting harder to come by, and it's you have enough trouble reaching an audience. It's like, okay, if we can do different versions of the songs. Why wouldn't we do that? And it gets you more gigs, it gets your name out there more, and people, just because they're at an acoustic show doesn't mean they're not going to like the other versions of the songs, and vice versa. And for your regular fans, you can be like, hey, we're doing this special version, this different version of the songs. If you want to come along and hear something a little different from us.
You brought we didn't plan it like that necessarily. But it's worked well for us because we've played gigs with all sorts of different genres. Like, we just played that Catastrophe one with some heavier bands. Then we played
Great Club.
Gigs with the Great Club was basically an indie show. Then we've played with old school punk bands. Yeah. We've played all around with all different genres because we're able to pull from our range of music enough to suit, which I think and it's good for the people that come to watch us, because if they come to watch us at one show, what they get at the next show might be is going to be at least a little bit different. They're not going to get the same exact thing every time, because we do sort of we change up our set list and whatever to suit the show. Yeah,
good.
At the end of the day, it's about the show. It's not about us. So we like that we pull from a range of different music. Otherwise, you're just going to make the same thing that already exists. How do you make anything new if you don't mix it up?
There is some bands that have had success by releasing effectively the same music over and over and over again. Bands like AC/DC, Rage Against the Machine, were Lamb of God for a time. I mean, they've seem to have switched. They have switched it up a bit. They're starting to switch it up a bit again, which is nice. And some bands do vary their style and then fall into a bit of a pattern eventually down the road. Like Disturbed kind of has done that. Initially, their albums were fairly different from each other, and now they've kind of settled into a formula, and a lot of it's very samey now. But I like, and again, this is something that I think is like, as a musician, I prefer to see bands that do change it up. That do different things, that do experiment and explore different territories. Yeah. Whereas I guess not everyone does, right? Like, you'll often get fans that be like they won't like certain albums from bands because they're just too different, and
pay to go to a fucking show, but
and it's fine. Like, they're allowed to not like it, but I think that this is a great example. This is an example. I think it's a perfect example of it. Is you look at the big four of heavy metal. And the reason, in my view, and I'll die on this hill, the reason that I think Metallica is the most successful of the big four is because they changed it up. Because they've changed what they did and they explored different territories musically. Whereas you look at the rest of the big four, and they more or less just iterated on the same thing, whereas Metallica went out there and went, all right, we've been doing like, getting heavier and more, almost like by the time they got to Justice, they were almost edging towards almost like a prog element there. And then they went, instead of taking it further in that direction, we're going to go all the way over here and do the Black Album. And, then they went and did Load and Reload, which was vastly different. And then they did all the, and it's like, to me, I believe that's one of the key reasons they did become the biggest of the big four by a wide margin, because they broadened what they were doing, which gave them more appeal. I don't consider it selling out. They could have probably continued to do what they wanted to do. They didn't change it to sell out. They just changed it because they wanted to do something different.
Yeah, they walked the line perfectly between being able to change up what they were doing whilst always still sounding like Metallica. It's.
I mean, James Hetfield's vocals on there is really going to be key to that.
But it's a lot of bands struggle to walk that line.
I got to admit, I've fallen for the trap from the listener's side, right? Like, if you look at Bring Me the Horizon, and they did that one Ammo album, and they suddenly went from Sempiternal to kind of pop, and then Sam always makes fun of me. The song Heavy Metal, which is the most cleanest pop song, is designed for people like me who keep bagging them out because they're not heavy metal anymore. So
I actually love that album.
Yeah. But this is, and to touch on what Raff said, but this is a difference between, and look, you guys are doing sort of the exact same thing by diversifying and spreading yourselves out so much by being having the ability to spread yourselves out so much through your catalog that you do have the ability to play on stadium shows. Play on heavy shows. I've got stadiums on my mind. I'll get to it. But yeah, you can spread yourself out. You can do the indie shows. You can do the heavy shows, and you sort of sit in a really nice repertoire of all of it. And you have that catalog to do it. Now, this is the big thing. When you have a look at bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Metallica, they're stadium bands, because they can diversify, and their catalog is so spread that they have the ability to fill a stadium.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a look at the other ones, I'm sorry, Slayer are not selling out ANZ Stadium or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Brother, it's not happening. I love Slayer. It's not happening, man. Just let's all admit it. It's and that's fine. But there's a difference when you turn into a cult band, and you can turn into a stadium act.
Yeah.
Because if you find your formula and stick in the pocket, mate, that's when you turn into a cult band, because you're going to have that cult following that do not want you to change. They don't want to embrace it. They don't want no fucking bar of it. Keep doing what you're doing and do it fucking properly the way we want you to do it.
I always find
go.
Oh, sorry. For big bands, it's a lose-lose, because if they stay the same, everybody goes, "Oh, you're just giving us the same album," and if they change, everybody goes, "Why didn't you make the other album again?"
Yeah,
precisely.
Obviously for us, it doesn't matter.
Which I think is why
the killer sometimes
we have, which is why it's important. And again, this is something I always come back to this: the distinction between the way musicians engage with music versus the lay person engages with music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone that's not a musician, that's not part of the business, that doesn't understand how the business works at all. They just listen to music because they enjoy listening to music, but they have zero understanding about how it works.
Yeah.
They are going to experience music in a totally different way and engage with it in a totally different way to what musicians do.
Yeah.
And this is something that a lot of bands fall into this thing of, I want to make sure, I want to be the band that all the other bands watch. I don't. I want to be the band that I want to be in the band that the people watch.
I'll get paid.
Because if you're in the band that the musicians watch, the people that are watching you are the other bands on the bill, and they're not paying to be there. It's nice. It's nice to have the respect of your peers, but that shouldn't be the concern. That shouldn't be the concern. You should be making the music that you want to make and then putting it out there. That's the key thing. If people like it, great. If you're trying to make music to follow a trend, it's never going to work because you're always going to be chasing the trend. If you try, you've just got to do the music that you want to do and put it out there, and that's always going to connect with people more than a cynical attempt to chase a trend or to, impress other musicians that are playing on the bill.
Yeah.
Go.
That's super cliche, but like the songs that we write are songs that we kind of want to listen to, right? So that's the essence of it.
I think we don't really expect anyone to listen to them when we make them. We make them for us.
Yeah.
And if we like them, then we put them out and hope someone else likes them, and occasionally someone does.
Yeah, and that's it, man. And this is what I keep saying. Bands like Beartooth and stuff like that, because a lot of people are pissed off at Beartooth about the sort of left turn that they've made in recent years or whatever. Mate, unless they were signed to a record label that said, "I want 5 more albums like this, please," you ain't got dick to fucking say.
Yeah,
they can do what the fuck they want. You ain't got dick to say. And to be fair, I like growth, but that's only because I'm a musician.
But Beartooth's a great example of your in-depth listener versus your casual listener. Because if you're a casual listener, Beartooth's made this dramatic change. But if you follow the guy from Beartooth and you follow their journey through those few albums, it totally makes sense, this big change, because he's had a big change in his life and, getting sober and all this. So his music going from really dark to, this odd change to some bouncy, happy vibe, even though there's still a bit of yelling there and stuff. It's like,
yeah, of course.
For your in-depth listener, I find that change awesome. The people who don't like that change, it's like, well, they don't understand. Go and do some reading.
Yeah.
Just don't buy the album and don't complain about it. Just don't listen to it. Like, seriously. It's just...
I heard it on a songwriting podcast the other day, somebody say that that musicians and bands are often 6 months ahead of their audience in terms of where their thinking's at. And so often when you drop something, there's all this history behind it and thought process that you've got, and they can either follow or they're already off on a left or right turn.
Yeah.
And they might come back around again, but you're not writing it.
I think that's where social media allows bands now to provide a lot of context for a song or for an album that previously maybe wouldn't have been as easy to get out to your audience. Like you can, the content churn and the whole like, oh, well, we need to have videos, we need to be putting stuff out for whatever. That's a great opportunity for you as a band to say, hey, like this song is about XYZ. It's about struggling with whatever, or this experience that I went through, and maybe it'll help you if you're going through something similar, etc. And like you can put that out there even before the song's out. That's promoting the song, and you can if you're smart about it, you can be ahead of that. You can allow the audience to be keeping up with you in that regard.
But art isn't meant to be interpreted like that.
Song. Like if you think Blink Reunion, they dropped an acoustic song that hit so hard because everyone knew the story. Everyone was able to buy in. I know we know about Mark's Cancer, we know about Travis's plane crash, we know about Summon Aliens. You bring it together and you've got something that appeases the fan base, but doesn't sound like what you'd expect them to sound like. Like it's not catering.
And look, I completely agree. Like I completely agree with what Raff said. I was helping out with. I was a guest on 420 bands, the 420 Smoke Out thing. Yep. With the Australian one. And we had a band that we had on, I suggested a band for them called Small Gods. Now, we know the backstory behind the song. Now, while that song was playing, or just before it started, I gave the backstory, and that song won the whole day. It's like a little competition thing where people vote. I do agree. It does hit different, but unfortunately, but just as some weird old fart purist shit thing, it's like, art is not meant to be interpreted like that. You're meant to absorb it the first time and take from it what you're meant to, if that makes sense. It sort of takes all the fun out of it if you know the story behind it. If that's
I think
like you get what it's about, you get what the song's about, but then it takes away from what you're meant to feel from it, if that makes sense.
If you already know where the journey ends up, what's the point of taking the journey? So
definitely. And there's obviously arguments on both sides there, right? Like there's people who, if you write a song that's particularly metaphorical and that's very heavy on the talking around what it's actually about, rather than being directly on what it's actually about. You know, you might have people that connect with the song for a certain reason, and then when they find out what it's about, they maybe don't connect with it the same way anymore. Or you might have some people who, if they find out what it's about before, it will allow them to connect with the song better the first time they hear it, rather than being, oh well, this is too dense, like there's too much metaphor and allusions to other stuff going on here, like I'm not following. Whereas if they know what it's about, it will allow them to make that connection and to feel that, I guess. But it's almost a similar thing to when songs that are not in English, you know, like sometimes if a song's not in, you got no idea what it's about, you just like it for what it is, right? And then maybe later on you find out what it's about. There's all sorts of different ways to approach this stuff, and I think there's no one right way to do it.
No.
It's whatever works for you guys, you know. And so what can you tell us about this new song that you guys have got coming out? So Hasta La Vista Loca.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that one?
Well, I might start. So I had an idea in mind. So I'd had a bit of a like toxic relationship, which most punk songs, I guess, start with a toxic relationship at some stage.
Okay, Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Hey,
She does made a career out of it.
I wrote the like the vibe of the song, like the actual instrumentation, to be a bit confronting. So I don't know if we, have a sample or anything, but like the beginning of the song starts off a bit happy, but the end of the song gets a bit dark, and so it has this really like big contrast in it. And I remember going to Sam, I was like, Sam, like this is the idea behind the song. Give me some words that encompass that idea. And, I think this was before we even had a title for it, but Sam really like killed it with the lyrics, and the lyrics are like, it's not like one of the greatest lines I think we've ever written, thanks to Sam, is it's not see you later, it's see you in hell. And the idea is like, you're leaving this toxic relationship, but instead of saying bye to it, you're like fully saying bye, like this door is completely closed. And so I guess that's kind of where the inspiration behind the music came. I don't know, Sam, again, more about the actual lyrical writing.
Oh, the journey of the song is about, leaving a relationship, that's holding you back from where you need to be.
Yeah.
It's about, that fork in the road in life or in a relationship where you got to make a tough decision and you got to say, am I going to go down this way that is going to be negative for me, or am I going to make the hard choice and I'm going to say, see you later and go on your own. It's about cutting off that sort of negativity, I guess. Not a new concept in, punk music, but it's sort of that journey throughout the song, I guess.
Yeah.
Loving someone so much that but they're just terrible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in this space and lifetime, this can never work. No matter what in this lifetime, it would never happen.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those where you can't sort of push it away a little bit. You've got to cut it off.
You've got to fully disconnect.
You can't distance yourself and then reconnect, or that'll just keep dragging you back in. You've got to cut it. It's a hard choice. You got to cut it and do what's best for you. And
yeah, it's mad when you fall in love with someone due to all their toxic traits, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw all the red flags and I thought it was a circus.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a song title for you.
That's pretty good.
So yeah,
you can have that one for free. You can have that one for free.
Thank you.
Dude. Well, look, one thing I've got to say, like what I did catch at the back end of your set, dude. I knew there was a hardcore, like a metalhead in there somewhere, because just all those little screams and stuff like that in the background of his, like the sub drops. You guys put on a hell of a show.
Thank you.
And look, the crowd was good. The crowd were very receptive, very responsive, which was good. That's all you can ask for.
We really appreciate that. We put a lot of effort into the live show, because growing up, going to the shows was the fun bit, where you hang out with your friends. We always wanted the big show. So it's like, we do put a lot of time and effort into trying to make sure that we have a pretty fun show that people can dance to. So
we also technically, like in the background, have made our shows heaps better to listen to. Like you guys just mentioned the sub drops, and we've incorporated like a bit of a backing track. The way that we practice now is a lot more like regimental and structured. We really try to deliver, on the stage what we would want to hear if we were in the crowd. And I know like Sam put in a huge amount of effort getting like our actual digital setup going. So, we use like an Axe FX and lots of digital.
Hey, good on yous.
We use a lot of like, digital controllers and stuff like that. And that's just so that, if you're listening to it at the show, you're getting the same tone that was recorded with, you're getting the same effects that you're familiar with or you might connect to when you're listening to the song, in your digital media and stuff. So
it's your product, right?
That's right.
The live show is part of the product. So you've got to, as much as I hate the commercialization of art, obviously, but it's your product. People are going there, so we try and make it as best we can. We want to play tight. We want to be, good to our set length. We want to know, and also a bit for our own peace of mind. I want to know that when I get up there, I want to know exactly what's happening. I want to be pretty confident in what we're about to do. Yeah. I don't want to get up there and go, I've seen bands before get up there and go, what song are we playing? I knew you were going to say. And it's like, we don't want to be that band. We want to get up there and deliver something, prepare. People can go, cool.
I'm a big fan of preparation like that. I am like, I'm the guy that always brings the set list. I know, and I've got it like printed with the logo at the top, copy for everyone plus a spare. Like I'm the guy that is, like what can we do to improve the set and make it tighter, make it better for everyone? Because with royalties from songs becoming less and less, and like the live show and it becoming easier and easier to record, things, and to even, with the prevalence of a lot of AI tools, it's going to become easier and easier, I guess, to quote unquote cheat in the studio and to have stuff that you're not actually doing. And it's but moving away from that, like the live show is standing on your product. It's standing on what you do. It's this is the songs we wrote. We can play it. We can perform it. We can do, it's live performance of any kind is really the rawest and truest form of art in a lot of ways. Because it is so unique every time.
That time as well, like we played a quick track, so if we know we've got a 25-minute set, we'll play for 24 minutes 59. So that's right. Exactly how much we're getting in, maximize the music, how long our breaks us. We're not lingering on conversation, like we're just getting as much songs out as we can, so people get the best picture of us.
There's like technology. There's always, it's a bit controversial about technology and laptops and things like that when you're playing live music. But for us, we do have a laptop on stage, but it's not playing any of the song for us. We got about 15 seconds of backing track through our song, which is a bit of like crowd noise stuff. Like it's no instruments or vocals or anything. But what it does allow us to do is it allows us to hear ourselves, crisp and clear. So I know if I'm making mistakes, so I can clean it up so that the people out the front aren't listening to something out of key. Or it helps us listen, play our songs.
Confident in our mix. Like, no,
to the click. It's not all about, us needing, something to guide us, but so that we can have it perfectly timed. We're not, we're giving you the maximum amount of songs we can give you without any risk of us doing that thing where you run over time or, you've got to cut your set and things like that. We're trying to utilize it in order to give the best performance we can to the people who are paying.
Precisely.
After that explanation, I have this funny feeling that you've been hassled. Maybe people have made one or two snide little comments here and there. And this is what I want any band. And look, I used to be that guy doing this for 2 years and just getting back out into live shows and stuff like that. I will quite humbly eat my fucking words. Less is more. As a punter that hasn't hopped up on stage in fucking 10 years or whatever it is now, I can't hear the difference. I don't know the fucking difference. Just play the fucking songs and do it well. That's all I ask. I'm sick of going to shows with shit sound.
Yeah,
That is what I'm fucking sick of.
Yeah.
personally,
And saying that, what you got to turn around to those people that ever say anything about your fucking rig or your Axe effects or anything like that, and this goes out to any other band that uses it, and if anyone has a piss and moan, you're not my target audience.
Yeah. Personally, well, I don't, I haven't had anyone really come up, but online all the time, people are always critiquing bands that use a laptop. And I just think they don't actually understand what they're using it for. When you say to someone, there's a backing track, they automatically think that it's a substitute. Yeah, they think that it's the guitar part or the vocals or something. And it's like, no, that's not actually what they're doing. There's a string section where we can't get you an orchestra, and you love that part on the record. Yeah, you love that bit, and then you go to the show and you get that bit, and it hits you, and you're like, "This is hectic," but I can't bring you an orchestra. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, precisely.
No, we're not Metallica.
Bands run their light shows, and smoke effects and everything can be run off your laptop now, which to the average person, it's just a hectic show. Yeah. And they're like, that's mad. It's going to set you apart from the other bands who aren't using it. It gives you all these opportunities to things that aren't playing an instrument for you. Right? There's all these sorts of things that you can add to live shows. Technology nowadays is it's unbelievable. Right? The amount of changes you can do to your guitar sound for us to play different styles of music for the people who are there, it's unreal. But people who don't understand that that's what the technology is used for, they jump at it and they think that it's replacing what it is.
Yeah. But their favorite studio album was played with like the four blokes in the room. They didn't overdub anything. It just came out that good on the fucking album. There was no computer work fucking there, was there? You fucking moron.
And then you tell them Lars Ulrich actually played the bass drum with his hands, and they.
Well, why did they lose their fucking mind?
Yeah. Like, no, man. Like, they've been tricking you for years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, and there's, and look, that's the thing. Like, I mean, there is something to be said. As a musician, I obviously can very much appreciate and respect the purity of people that do want to stand up there and just perform with just them and no click track, no backings or anything like that. And that's fine. Like, they're allowed to make that decision if that's how they want to do stuff. I have no gripe there at all. I just think that obviously, much like yourself, I'm like, if bands want to utilize the tools that are available to them, fucking go for it. Like, there's no harm in doing that whatsoever. And, like Nuclear Vision, we've run everything to a click track and we run samples within stuff because there's, as you say, like on the album, there's a couple of songs, there's like shotgun samples in it. And so we want to have those triggering at the right moments in songs. And there's,
you're not going to have a bloke up on stage with a shotgun.
Exactly. And okay, we could have our drummer with a sample pad, but then our drummer's like, if our drummer's off with hitting stuff or if he's like busy doing other shit, he might not get to the sample pad. And it's just easier, like, if we're using a click track anyway, because we want to use a click track to stay tight with stuff, we'll utilize all that. We've got, it's peeking behind the curtain for anyone that doesn't already know this. Like, we utilize all of our little bits in between tracks. We've got samples to queued up to just play there. We've got like cues that only we hear that I've recorded, and it's like, all right, the next song's starting here, and in like all that stuff. And bands need to utilize this stuff.
Yeah. We've got a song that starts a cappella, so we have a piano play the note
so that we can hear it.
So
even better, make sure you're on key.
It's so easy to start that song out of key, and then it will just cook the whole thing.
That's right.
And the people who've paid money to come and see us go,
what the hell's that?
Yeah, brilliant. It's perfect. That's it. That's exactly what you have to do. Like cues for like, this next count in, like it's just, we got one of our songs where it's the bass kicks in for like a breakdown type section. So it's like, all right, this next count in is just for the bass. 1, 2, 3, and then the bass comes in, and we got this sample coming up. And what else I like to do? I don't know if you guys do this as well, but I started slipping in messages of encouragement at the end of the songs as well.
Yeah, this clown does it all the time and doesn't tell us.
So it's like, it's just like, that was killer, dudes. Fucking, you aced that one. And then we go on to, and then it's like, all right, next song, you got 15 seconds for the next song, and then whatever sample it is, and then it goes. So it's like, I think it's a great thing, and it's if bands aren't utilizing this sort of stuff, I think they're missing out on a great opportunity. Even if it's just to have a click, even if it's just the most basic version and having your drummer with a click track, if the songs are consistent tempos. If they change tempos, it gets obviously a bit trickier, but if you've got consistent tempos through the whole song, at least have your drummer on Bluetooth earbuds or whatever, the sports ones that go over your ear so they don't fall out, and have the drummer on a click track, you know?
Yeah, we always did. We always had that before we had our rig.
Yeah.
You know, because we were always like, you know, we were playing and you get so excited and then all of a sudden your 30-minute sets turned into 15 minutes. Played everything so quick. So it's, you know, and I know that's a musician's skill, but we want to make sure that things are familiar.
Yeah, definitely.
You should always bump it up slightly. I reckon live shows every live show, I swear, they all use in-ears. I listen to really good bands, so as far as I'm concerned. The shows are always a little bit faster.
Bumping it up by a few BPM is always helpful. It's always beneficial. And that's something to experiment with too. Like, I mean, Nuclear Vision, what we do is some of our songs, we try bumping them up in speed and that just gets really, really difficult to play them faster, so we keep them at the same tempo. Other songs, we play them at the album tempo and they feel slow as fuck, so we've bumped them by like 10 or even 15 BPM to really like, you know, bring it for that live energy, you know, and it's just something that a lot of bands need to really put some look into.
A lot of people that are against the technology use probably don't realise how many big bands use it.
Already do it.
You know, they sit there and they go, you know, who does that? Be like,
everyone. Yeah, literally everyone.
Rig or projections behind them, like there's shows they've got it.
And if that's the thing, you only have to think of it like sport. You go to, you know, you go to sport, and you train at a certain level, and you do these certain things, and then as soon as you make the pro thing, it's like everything from there is out the window. You're getting these supplements. You got a dietitian. Anything that can give you an edge when you're playing at that elite performance, they're gonna fucking make sure you do it. So when you hit that stage on your and a record label or whatever is behind you.
Exact same shit. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And hang on. Where am I? I'm going to make myself big, and I want you all to look into my eyes for this one. If you are a musician and you believe that playing with a click track kills the feel, you're not a good musician.
No, you're right, because if you've got a click, right, and you need that to build up.
There goes half our audience.
You can. A click's not as rigid as people think it is.
You're right.
Playing a bit in front of the click or playing a tad behind the click for vibe.
Yes.
Right? That's all still there.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you don't lose that. It's not as robotic as like these people who hate the click. It's like come and play to one and find out how hard it is.
The more you do it, the benefits in the studio as well. Like you record.
Learn how to do it. Learn how to do it, and then you'll be fine. It's just that you don't know how to do it, and you need to get better.
Yeah. It's the reason why they get you to play the click tracks in the studio, because it sounds ultimately better.
Like there might be some you know styles where it's super important to be, you know, freestyle kind of music, but in most modern music, modern metal, modern punk, it's just not the case, you know.
And here's the thing, like I'm not talking about people that can play to a click but don't need to because they have really good internal rhythm, or someone in the band is really, really solid on that and they don't need to rely on a click for things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that take that shit on playing with a click track because they can't. That's specifically the people I'm talking to with that, you know.
No one that shits on the click track is actually good at playing on one. So
yeah. If people can play to a click track and choose not to, that's an entirely different story. I'm not talking to those people whatsoever. But look,
if a drummer ever turned around to me and says I can't play to a click track, we can't play in my band because you can't get rhythm, bro. It's your job.
That's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Bro, it's your job.
Well, let's with that, let's dive into our first segment for the evening, and we'll head into the quick question quarter.
That you
quick question quarter.
You could do so.
Welcome to the quick question quarter. Spelt with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. Basically, what we're going to do is run through some rapid fire questions here for our guests. We'll go around in a group. We'll ask the question. All three will answer. Then we'll move on to the next one. So diving in, they start out simple and then they get a little bit more involved as we go on.
Sure.
So, what was the first instrument that you learned to play? And yes, vocals counts as an instrument.
The saxophone, I would say.
Hey.
Dude, there has been a lot of that lately.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad would teach me a little bit on guitar when I was really little, but I wasn't very interested. But the first instrument that I really asked to learn to play was the saxophone.
Hell yeah, that's cool. Do you
Did you
still
just want
know a bit, or you?
I could probably play a tune if I needed to. You've been holding out. I think you need some time. Yeah.
Saxophone solo.
That's it. Sax solo. There needs to be more sax in metal and punk.
We'll bring one out for the show.
Look, hey, if Viper Snatch can put a flute solo in there,
I didn't say that.
you guys can put a sax solo in there.
Red Hook got sax solos in one or two of their songs.
We'll work towards. We'll have a look. I'd like to find it. I don't know where
Make
it
it work.
is.
Just go to Costco. I'm sure they got saxophones there for fuck all.
It's at my parents' house somewhere for sure.
Oh, there you go. Even better.
There you go. I just assumed it was because you wanted your dad to stop playing that infernal racket.
Yeah.
This is going to be super cliche, but year 3 music was the recorder.
Doesn't count. We don't count that.
You don't count the recorder?
We don't count that for the purposes of this.
There's only one reason why, because musician or not, by grade
90%
3,
of people,
every single one of us had it in our hand.
Okay, so if that's a bad answer, later on
that's a bad answer, and you should feel bad. I'm kidding. Don't feel bad, please.
My year 3 teacher probably feels bad because I wasn't very good, but my second instrument was the drums.
Drums. Okay.
That's solid. That's an instrument.
As solid as can be.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, that counts.
I learned the guitar, which is a really boring answer because that's what I play now.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
You were just lucky enough to find your bliss when you first picked up your first instrument.
Everything else afterwards, but the guitar was the
first time. Yeah.
All right. What was the first album that you purchased?
Oh no. It's going to be an Avril Lavigne.
Oh,
that's not bad.
My whole pass.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that. But the most I remember we were at a Christian bookstore with my parents, and the Under Oath album was there, and I bought that because they obviously had no idea what it sounded like, but because we were in this Christian shop, they were like, surely it must be fine. And so
under the oath of God.
Yeah.
You can go under that.
I got that one, but I think first, I'm gonna have to say it was Avril Lavigne.
Yeah. She aged like a fine wine.
Like fine wine. Obviously, big fan of the show.
Yeah, she's probably watching. No, my first one was from Under the Cork Tree, Fall Out Boy. I bought that to impress a girl. I hadn't listened to any of the songs yet, but I just had to show her that I owned the CD, but she really liked Fall Out Boy. So I remember I went into. Do you remember there was those shops that used to sell those like circular things?
The ancient times where the dogs used to live.
Yeah.
The dogs used to live.
I bought the CD at my local Stockland mall, and I took it to school the next day. And I was like a talking point at the train station with this girl for about 5 minutes until she realized I didn't know any of the words. And so after that, I was like, well, now I need to be a singer to learn the words.
Actually, perfect album to then put on after some heartbreak. So
then serenade her.
Loves that.
So that moved into my singing career. I was like, well, I need to learn words now. So
you go, Mooney, show your age.
Yeah, I'm older than these boys and probably more cringy. My first album that I bought with my own money was Black and Blue by the Backstreet Boys.
Oh,
Class. Nothing wrong with some Backstreet Boys.
That's the best answer.
Well, unless it's old mate Nick Carter or whatever. He's apparently wrapped up in some dodgy shit these days. But
to be fair,
But no, Backstreet Boys is fine.
I think that's a first too.
It's a product of the time. It is what it is, mate. No shame there.
But then when I moved on to pop punk, I remember asking my auntie for the Take This to Your Grave album by Fall Out Boy, and she went into the stores and asked for it, and they tried to convince her that there was no band that existed called Fall Out Boy. What? I was like, I can find this album on MySpace. This is a thing, but I couldn't get.
Holy shit!
You're too old to listen to this. Your ears cannot take this.
Wow.
Tried to
It's a
save
great
it.
album, by the way.
That was
It's a great
good.
album.
Section or something.
All right. What was the first live concert that you attended?
Wiggles don't count.
Oh, for me, my dad took me to see The Who.
Oh,
solid!
bro.
Yeah, it was hectic.
That's a winner.
I remember it so clearly. And I had Zach Starkey on the drums, and he was just in this big, giant, like, chrome kit, you know, and I was like, I don't know, 12, 11 or something. It was just magnificent. It was pretty red hot.
I look. It's a weird answer. There's a photo of me as like a 1-year-old in my dad's arms at some like show at like the Sydney University, the park just outside of Sydney University. And my dad keeps telling me that it was like, oh, AC/DC came out and played in the park. I can't confirm this because I was, under 1 year old, but that would have been my first show.
What's the first you remember?
First I remember was when I saw Short Stack when I was 15 and I had like the big emo hair.
Nice. Did you have the full fringe covering one eye?
Yeah, and I was red. The front was red and the rest was black. But it's funny because I actually grew up with one of the people of that band and he was like, oh, come to the show.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
And I didn't even know like what pop punk really was. And I was there and I was like, wow, everyone's kind of dressed like me. This is interesting. So
Nice. That's always a good moment, though. Like when you go to something like that and you're like, oh, okay, there is actually other people that do this. Like
I found my tribe.
it gave me confidence to wear skinny jeans to like school mufti days without thinking I was weird because there were other people that did it.
Can I tell a quick story?
I hate to break it to you.
Oh,
you,
yes.
You were still weird.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, go.
Yes.
I went to the first Soundwave when it was a national thing, but I only went because this girl offered me a ticket to some festival, but I thought it was like a town fete festival. Like, I didn't understand what...
If you're in Penrith and it was at Eastern Creek, it's kind of like a town fete. It's just a really fucking big one.
Festival, and I assumed it was a town fete type deal.
Like at a show day?
And then, I rocked in there, and I was like, oh, I know all these bands. This is amazing. And it was the best type. That's all. Continue.
To be fair, normally if you're buying show bags at those festivals, there's a very good chance you're going to get arrested or end up in the St. John's area.
Yeah. All right, go.
My first concert was Green Day's American Idiot Tour at the SCG.
Oh, Jimmy, well done for that one. I was at that one.
They're supported by Jimmy Eat World and Michael Romance.
Yep. I went to that one. That was fucking good.
About 13, I think, yeah.
Oh, the dream.
That was a good one. Holy shit.
Great
It's
answer.
fucking mad.
All right.
I was going to have that one with the Who, but...
Yeah,
let's
go.
There's some really, really strong ones coming out of this interview.
Love it when
That's
we get
great.
strong ones.
What's an instrument you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
Trumpet. I went hard on the Scarface and I wanted to learn the trumpet.
Oh,
There you go. Get the sax,
not
get
a
the
phase,
trumpet.
It is a lifestyle,
Like-
my friend.
I've already fished 3 times and I would see them again if they would come out more regularly.
It's not my thing. Well, it's like...
So the trumpet.
That's the trumpet. We've got a new director.
What's an instrument that I wish I could play? I really wish I did piano lessons. Like,
You're pretty good at piano, though.
I can dabble. Like, I'm not very good, but it was like, it's one of those things where when I was a kid, it's like, I want to learn guitar because it's cool. Don't send me to piano lessons because it's lame. But
Yeah.
I was an idiot. And it's like, I really wish I was proficient. But in terms of like a completely new instrument that I wish I could play, I don't know.
Not the Lebanese drum in the
No, I can play that. I don't know.
on the school.
What about you, Jez? You go first.
I wish I could sing.
All singers say that. All fucking singers say that.
Yeah, I know. No, so I guess similar answer to Sam for different reasons. So now that we do a whole bunch of our own recording, I wish I was really proficient on like a MIDI keyboard, not just to play the piano, but for like synth sampling and automation and stuff.
You know what I wish I tried? Like, I've never tried it. I reckon I can get a sound out of it, but the bagpipes, I reckon I'd love to give that a crack. I see them, and I'm like, I just want to try it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be mad. There's a lot of prep work in bagpipes.
I think what had fucked me up. I think what had fucked me up with bagpipes is I'm used to when I make the action, that's when the sound comes out. Like piano, bass, guitar, like all these things. I'm like, I move the thing and it's instantly it's the sound, right? There's no movement without sound there. The thing that had fucked me up with stuff like bagpipes, I think, is the blowing into it to increase the bellows, and then you're squeezing the bellows that blows the air out to make the sound. Coordinating that, I think, would fuck me up so
I think
much.
that's why, because it's like it's a fair bit sort of different. You know, a lot of instruments there's a little bit of carryover.
Yeah.
If you understand how music sort of works, but the physical action of the bagpipes, I've never tried that. So
Pretty dangerous mixing bags and pipes. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to muck around too much there.
But you can tell some real prick of a musician. Like it's not finger move, note go like this. It's you got to blow, you got to squeeze, and then your fingers go
then
like
you're
you
doing
got.
It's not intuitive.
Yeah, it's not in the same way. I think I'm sure if someone, and you know what they say. Apparently, like our brains are more open to learning stuff and whatever when we're younger, and as we get older it's like thing, and that's why that's one of the reasons I think that they encourage people to never stop learning, because if you continually trying to learn new things all the time, it retains some of that plasticity. But you know, too late for me now. I'm like I'm staring down the barrel of 40 and I'm like I can't learn a new skill now. It's too late. We've been doing this for 2 years and I haven't learned fuck.
I'm learning surviving.
Here we go. If you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, who would it be?
Oh, it'd be Blink for me for sure. I think is that like they just, as a kid, that's the band you wanted to be in. You know, that's the band you wanted to play for. I think because that was sort of the band where I first would have seen them and gone, I could do that. I reckon. And it's like, you know, it looked like the most fun. So I think just for nostalgia purposes, I think I'd say Blink.
I'm going to give another unorthodox answer here.
Not from you.
No, I saw a movie back when I was a kid. This was before I saw my first live show, by the way. Follow-up question from the other question. Spinal Tap.
Oh, yes.
My dad showed me this movie, and I was like, 10 or 11
You know
years
they're
old.
doing a sequel, right?
The sequel to the first mockumentary.
I think they are. I think they're doing a sequel. I'm sure I've seen that they're doing a sequel.
That's great. Look, that's great. But as a 10, 11-year-old, I was like, I'd love to be on stage playing with them. Had never played an instrument before, wasn't even in a band. So my honest first answer would be Spinal Tap.
I love that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that.
Yep, there we go. Spinal Tap 2. Upcoming American mockumentary film.
Dude, I'm sorry, but when we start doing movie nights for the
yeah, that's got to be a thing.
That's gonna be the first one.
It's mad.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably Blink's a fair shout. I might go MXPX just because of my personal attachment to them. They're not that they're very, very big, but that'd be a nice little.
They're your all-time favorite.
No, that's good. That's good. All right. Next question. We're starting to get to the pointy end of these now, so it'll be a bit interesting to see some of these ones. Who is a band or artist that you're listening to at the moment that you think is underrated and deserves more attention?
Oh, what about that?
I like the. I don't know, because I don't know how much attention they're really getting. Things like Bearings, like they're a sort of pop punky kind of band, like Bearings or Hot Mulligan. Those kind of bands, I really love that. It's like that 2010s pop punky kind of emo sound.
Yeah,
that I would love for that to be bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just sort of what I get around.
You caught me at a bad time because I'm listening to the new Bring Me the Horizon album at the moment, and before that, then there's like Falling Reverse launching tracks. Man,
that are just off their head.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, indie art. Well, not even indie artists, just smaller artists. I guess one of the artists that I keep coming back to, which is they are getting bigger. It would be Stand Atlantic. Like
love them. Like fucking love them.
Like I knew Stand Atlantic when they were doing like club shows. Not personally, but I knew of them.
You'd seen them, yeah.
And I guess I keep coming back to them because of their like, traditional pop punk vibe, which is
they're so fucking good. They're
That's
so
right.
good. Like I caught them. Being pop punk's not really like my main kind of vibe, right? So I don't know about a lot of the bands in that space, but last year I was doing an interview with when I was over in the States, and it was actually a rock musician over there that I was interviewing, and I was like, same question to her, who are you listening to that you think? And Stand Atlantic was the one that she said, and I was like, great that they're getting that kind of attention over there as well. And then when they were on the Good Things lineup last year, I was like, I have to make a point of seeing them. And oh my God, like
they put on a show.
Incredible live show. Add to that, it was stinking hot, and they were up there in their fucking VB track suits. The command over the crowd, the way they utilize the stage space, and the performance that those guys put on is fucking unreal. I was just floored.
I worked with one of the dancers that were on that show, and she was sending me all these photos. It was pretty sick, just seeing it from
That's
the outside of the stage.
mad.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What about you, man?
I think What You're Made Of could use it.
You're basically listening to that's music.
It's mostly toddlers music and like stuff from when I was young. But I think of more recent bands, they're probably getting more credit than I'm aware of. But Goalkeeper is something I'm really into at the moment.
Okay.
In the States, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
Love that. I'm like, I love asking that question because we always get these, these bands that are just underappreciated and could use a bit more love, and then we go and check them out, and like it helps us to find new bands as well, because we firmly believe in keeping it fresh and continually seeking out new and interesting stuff to listen to. So I always love that question. What is something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
Oh dear.
I don't know.
How much can I say?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
I don't know.
Surprise.
I'm a high school PE teacher. There you go.
Oh, wow. That's pretty fucking surprising.
Yeah. yeah. So, yeah. It's a bit odd, right? Like,
Nah, well, I mean, look.
You wouldn't expect it necessarily. That's what it's like. We just like to get to know our guests a little better, you know?
yeah.
Normally when musicians say they're teachers, they're normally music teachers.
No,
It's very rarely that I ever meet a musician that says they're a teacher, and it's outside of the realm of performing arts.
No, I just teach year 3. Yeah.
In primary school.
No, primary school theatre.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's mad.
So you're subjecting all those kids to record it now.
And then they go run it off with Sam.
I can imagine my year 3 teacher playing a punk show on a Saturday night, but they were mostly like older ladies with like hippie hair and very different vibes to what we're bringing apparently.
We'll try to get you on the all ages show. I'll help out with down here.
Yeah, do it.
Should I tell them how I got my music teaching codes without actually doing
Yes.
it? No, I did not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I picked the uni into giving me music teaching codes, so I can actually teach both
Without.
PE and music,
There you go.
which was pretty good.
I don't really know how to answer this. Like, I have a lot of like really unique hobbies. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
if that
that absolutely counts, man. It's
Do
like-
you want me to surprise? I'll surprise Raff. That's Randy's brother-in-law.
In what day?
me.
That's Timmy's brother-in-law.
right.
You are
Timmy Randall.
Oh well, yeah, that's me. Sorry, that's
Yes.
me. I'm
You,
Tim.
Jeremy.
I am Tim Randall's brother-in-law.
There
There you go.
Yeah. I bought a farm in Lithuania last week.
What?
That's actually true.
How's that not your go-to when he says what somebody would know about you? Because we didn't know that about you.
How wasn't that your go-to?
Today.
You bought a fucking farm in Lithuania.
I bought a farm in Lithuania last week. Yeah.
What does it farm?
Um.
What is his main agricultural process?
Well, again, it's how much time do we have, right? So my family in Lithuania have a 21-acre farm, right?
Yeah.
And they used to share it between 2 people. And one of those people tragically passed away from old age. And so because I share the last name, I sent over some money and bought the other half of this 21-acre farm. And this farm provides fish to the nearby villages. It has acres of trees that they use for logging, and it has 3 dams.
I can't.
It's
Well,
true. It's true.
You know what
He's
you
even got a
have to do
goddamn-
now, though. You know what you have to do now, right? Like you'll have to
Exactly.
Got next recording, next album sessions has to be over there. You all got to fly over there and record there, and then utilize that as your base of operations for a European tour. Like that's what has to happen now.
Yeah, what's the tax like? If we put our name there, surely.
The problem is the population of this area is about 100.
Yeah, it's me.
And half of them are my family.
A captive audience.
Exactly.
You know, this is a good idea. Lithuanian farmhouse show.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no power. Play the acoustic show. No, there's no electricity.
Diesel generators.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, dude, no, but in all honesty, Raph's right. If you have property over in Lithuania, you should be trying to market over in Europe at the moment. And then just start hit like, dude, do you know how cheap it is to fly to other places once you're in Europe? It's not like over here where you're paying like $5,000. It's like $60.
Set yourself up. I'm sure there's a bit of, you know, some fields over there that aren't getting utilized to their full extent, right? Like,
well, it depends.
Set yourself up a music festival, right? Just you know,
let's go one step further.
The new Wacken, right?
Oh,
Commune. You guys watched that documentary, The Garden?
Yeah, Commune.
There you go.
Well, just rent it out for black metal bands to go take photo shoots.
That's true.
Yeah. See, it's business opportunities. You got to think outside the box.
That's so cool.
Great answer.
When I'm getting like the Google Translate from the people over there, they're like talking it up to me like, yeah, there's fish in this river, and like we've got vegetables in the fields, but you guys have much better ideas.
Like there you go. See, you just got to think outside the box and make it work for you. Okay,
but you got to find out what agriculture is legal in Lithuania and see if you can distribute that if the fields are big enough. That'll make some real money.
Last question in there. Now, obviously, the title of Reverend is actually a legitimate one. Yeah. So they don't just call me Reverend Raff. I am an ordained minister. So it is now confession time. What is your worst music sin? You can interpret that question however you like. What is your worst music sin?
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
Oh no, you're making me cringe.
The worst music sin. I went to the Taylor Swift concert.
Is that a sin though?
Yeah, 100%.
No.
Okay. No. Look, he obviously feels bad enough on himself to express it.
I enjoyed it. But
that's the sin.
What I'm saying
you
is
enjoyed the concert.
I'm trying to find something to answer this question, and I feel like on a metal show that could pass.
Yeah.
But maybe not. All right, we'll try again.
It's entirely up to you. You can answer it as seriously or as tongue-in-cheek as you like. It's purely just a curveball question to throw in at the end there.
All right.
Like me, I was a singer and I was always late to my own shows. And I was always like fucking getting fucked up somewhere or something like that, or bad.
I went to see my cousin's band play. The singer didn't show up.
I was not that bad.
The sound guy rocked in and just started screaming random stuff because their sound didn't show up. That was upsetting.
Wow.
I've never done that.
Do you want to go second?
I'm trying to think of something. Sorry.
It's just me having a breakdown between sound check and playing.
That's common for you.
Is that a sin?
No, I feel like that's personality.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So I went to a really, I guess, prestigious Catholic school, and I was in the church band. And in year 11, thankfully, I passed my first certificate, so it wasn't too bad. One of my friends who was in my music class dared me to do scream vocals on one of the church songs, and I did live. Yeah. And so I did this hymn that was part of the the mass with scream vocals, and the principal got up, interrupted the mass, closed the curtains on the stage, grabbed me by my shoulder, and locked me in his office for about 3 hours.
I love that.
Man.
Oh, you're going to hell.
Bro, the early 2000s, mate, if only these kids knew, and then if only they knew what it was like in the 80s and shit. But
in my defense, I got about 3 seconds into the song. So it was 2 screams, and it was
you tell the song, you got halfway through, but you tell the story.
Oh, true.
But I tell you what, that would have been that's special. That's
great. Is there any footage of that anywhere? Is there any footage of that floating around?
Legitimate.
That's musical scene. That's what I mean. I took it a bit literally, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Well, no. To be fair, we don't know if that when supposedly God wrote those hymns, that he didn't want them sung like that because they go a bit funny at the end, like the music and the lyrics never sync. So I always imagine it to be like, you know, a bit of a, and God, Lord.
That's
well,
right.
it's, you know, God, yeah.
Make a joyful noise.
Yeah,
Doesn't say
Yeah. You know,
That's
I took
pretty
the
cool,
power.
though.
I took the power of a spirit.
Mine's probably more marital, so just convincing my wife I needed a different guitar for this band than I did in my other bands.
That's fair.
Musically linked, but not necessarily a problem with the music.
That's not a sin. That's talent.
That's I get you. I get you. No, I'm guilty of gear acquisition syndrome myself.
All gear, no idea.
Yeah, the all gear, no idea. As a band, our musical spin is all gear,
no idea. As a band,
gear, no idea. That's
yeah.
I need to make that the slogan for my studio. All gear, no idea.
Man, that's another album. That's another album right there. You've just got your next 3 EPs or albums like sorted out in this episode.
In 20 years, that's our documentary topic. All gear, no idea.
There you go.
Love that. All right. Well, that's the quick question quarter over. Thank you very, very much for that, gentlemen. And it's time to move on to get in the bin.
Come on, if you want to fight, come on then.
Get in the bin.
Are you enjoying the weather there, mate? What? Are you enjoying the weather there? What are you talking about?
So, this is a wondrous segment where we ask our guests if they could just snap their fingers and have phenomenal cosmic power and eliminate things from the music business or just music industry in general, big or small, broad or narrow, whatever you would like. We'll grab one from each of you. Gentlemen, what would you eliminate from the music industry and why?
I'm prepared.
You go first.
I'm fully prepared because I've thought of this. I had dreams about this, right? So, and look, again, this is going to be quite a descriptive answer, so forgive me. But there are a lot of artists, not necessarily in our scene, that will have music written on their behalf, right? And that music isn't necessarily what I would consider well written or good or appealing. Doesn't mean it's not to everyone's taste. But despite how basic or unappealing the music seems, or I perceive it, is still made into a multi-million view hit simply because of the following or the social media presence of that person. And to me, that is the music being taken out of the picture and more being a benefactor of that person's presence or image that's given to them by their label or their social media presence. I would eliminate.
That's very good.
I've thought about this. I've thought about this.
So you're basically saying, like, so when you hit that those people that hit celebrity status and then just make music for the sake of it. And it could just be the most generic fucking shit in the world, and it just goes gangbusters just because they are a celebrity.
Right. The chemistry doesn't have to be good. It's just because they've got a 3 million following Instagram that track gets 20 million views.
Now, at the beginning of what you said, when you were saying about how songs get written for them,
that's very true.
Why isn't Max Martin's name on all the pop songs? Like, because he wrote all of them.
He gets paid
because he makes more money in royalty checks than what he does off getting his name put on the album, and that's a fact.
Yeah, but it's like
so what it comes down to is like, do you want the check for every time this song is played for the rest of your life, or do you want a one-off payment? Your name's on the song, and that's it. That's the exact fucking reason.
I feel like Max should get both of them because so many people are fans of pop music. Like, you're actually a fan of Max.
Well, I mean, they are on the credits. It's just most people don't read the fine print liner notes and credits on
There's
this
no booklets anymore to find that stuff anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
there's no album booklet.
And they don't know. And then you bring up that Backstreet Boys album. He did that. He did NSYNC. He did all of Britney Spears. He did all of the last 3 or 4 big Katy Perry albums. Yeah. He's done Taylor Swift songs. Yeah. Like, his list is just endless, and people don't know who he is. Yeah. I find that outrageous.
Incognito.
But at the same time, though, he probably respects his privacy as well. Wants to be able to walk down the street and not have that bullshit. I agree with you completely. Like, I agree with you completely. To be fair,
if you could have the credibility and the money without having that fame necessarily, I think that it'd be.
There's just a lot of calling songs yours when they aren't.
The problem is that all those musicians get way too much credit for shit they haven't done just because they can hold a note.
They're great performers. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm just saying, like, when they're up receiving awards and stuff, I'm like, well, it was actually made by someone else. You did a great performance.
Definitely. The awards absolutely should go to the people that wrote the songs rather than necessarily to the people who performed. And look, and maybe they do. Maybe they do still get awards. This, whatever.
Yeah,
they just don't go up on stage and accept it, right? But it's
Missy Elliott is a really good example of this. Missy Elliott actually started off her career as a songwriter. And for that exact reason, she got sick of not getting the credit. So she said, "Fuck this! I'm going to do I'm going to write and do all my own shit." And she became one of the biggest things of the early fucking 2000s.
Well, all right, so that's a good one.
Yeah, that was really good. We actually haven't had that one before.
I've thought about this for multiple years.
Mine's a little bit different, I think.
You're just going to say Taylor Swift?
No, because mine's a bit, controversial. I think it's showing my age a little bit. But I dislike the fact that in order for you to have a presence in music nowadays, you have to be a content creator. Yeah. Now, I've got no issue with content creators, right? That's fine. That's totally cool. But in order to be a musician of any note, you basically got to be a content creator that makes music.
Yes.
Which, I don't necessarily enjoy making content, short form content. I don't get a thrill off that like I do making music. But in order to actually get any of the music seen,
you need to.
You're forced to make short form content.
Yeah.
And I not that I dislike it, because obviously I consume it. But if I, could go back to when you got discovered by playing shows or, people handing around CDs at school and you didn't have to make, TikToks and all that kind of crap.
I did the hair movements.
I would like that more. So if I could get rid of one thing, it would be the necessity to be a content creator these days.
Agree.
Well, that's a problem. We talk about this so much, and the problem is content creation is a whole new artistic notion in itself now. And what you're asking musicians to do is double dip, and we don't. A lot of us don't have that ability to fucking create really good music and then try and create really good content that goes. That's why most people hire directors for fucking video clips, because we've already done that part.
With the amount of stuff that, like, if just think about like the amount of like people that are great musicians that are just that are so deserving of success, and their music deserves to be heard by so many people, where it's not getting out there because they're just not good at the content game, or they are. How much stuff they're not going to write, or they can't write because they're dedicating so much time to the content game that it's taking away from their ability to do that and causing burnout, and then they just give up and don't write music anymore.
Yeah, I've got no issue with content or short form content, any of that. I would obviously consume it, and there's some genius, funny content creators out there.
Yes,
but it's in order to get other art seen, you have to be a content creator first. Now, bands used to you'd have 3 music videos an album.
Yeah.
Sometimes
fucking that.
Sometimes less.
Yeah.
Right. Now you got to have 3 short form clips a day. Yeah. Or, you got to be posting all the time. It's got to have a trendy song. It's got to be on trend. Everyone's taking each other's jokes. That separate issue. When you see a joke on Instagram, don't then just go and remake the joke. It's somebody else's joke. But that's cool, whatever. But yes, I don't like the idea of being forced to be a content creator to get seen. I understand the necessity of it these days, but if I could bin one thing, it'd be that.
Who did we watch today that at the end of the music video had their TikTok and Instagram? Like big band. Everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, all of them nowadays.
You have to do. That's it. The credits at the end of your fucking music video, and you have the things showing up there. You just kind of have to
click on it straight away. Like we did a reaction to that British sludge metal band, the rap, the
Dead Wax.
Dead Wax, dude. The video, we watch it on screens, right? We're doing it on our.
It was a vertical aspect ratio.
It was filmed for your phone.
Like it was filmed to watch on your phone upright instead of widescreen like that.
See, that's wild to me.
It was so bizarre, but that's the thing. And you're seeing a lot of content now being made that way or being made square for Instagram and everything. And you know, I mean, to be fair, I think these days it almost makes the most sense to do most of your stuff square, because then you can like but have things centered a certain way so that you can kind of do it cut it to widescreen if you need, or cut it to vertical if you need, or, you know, for the platform that you're doing it on. And obviously not everything is going to work that way, but I think there's an argument to be made that a square aspect ratio is kind of the best approach to be using for most of this stuff.
It's not
now.
Shit that musicians should have to be fucking worrying about.
It's not.
100%.
A lot of it is about being there, being in front of everything all the time. It's quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just plastering yourself and being more seen than anyone else on these social media platforms. I mean, we come from the MySpace era, I guess, where that all would have sort of started.
Different though, because people went to other MySpace pages.
Yeah, but they were
And not just that. One of the first things that whenever you clicked on someone's MySpace page was that you got the music that they liked. The music that you liked used to play in the background. Like it was a positive thing. It was a really good promotional thing as well, I guess. And really
there wasn't a feed the way that there is now. You know, even when Facebook started, it was like not a feed with an algorithm to go through. It was just you followed it, you got the posts in order. That was it. There was no algorithm like pushing it based on what you'd interacted with or any of this stuff. So
I think it's a barrier to entry thing as well, which that was great because anybody can make anything now. Like you can make a full album, whatever you want, in your bedroom. You couldn't do that back in the day. No, that's all positive. We love that.
That's positive. Yeah.
But what that also means is there's just an influx of stuff of varying qualities. And so it's about, you know, you're competing against so much stuff now, and you're just trying to get seen all the time. You know, it's the old attention economy now.
Yeah.
Which makes it a bit tough when you don't really
fucking makes it very you're almost better off now if you really got that much I guess faith or belief in your own music, sending that off to content creators and asking them to use your music in their video.
Yeah.
Like it's all, but that's another way to like it's but once again it's shit that we shouldn't, like, musicians should not need to fucking think about.
I know someone that works at like a digital media company, and occasionally they'll do like TV ads, the occasional sort of like little music video for like a TV show or whatever it is. And they say that like a 20-second ad will take them 2 to 3 weeks before it's fully productionized, right? Fair enough. Now, like, if let's just say us as a band are all in order, we're all practiced, we could record a song, have it somewhat listenable within 1 to 2 weeks as well, right? Just on average.
Yeah.
But get like a fully studio or YouTube ready film clip that Taylor Swift does. You've got entire teams working on that video for multiple weeks, right? So what's the comparison where you can spend 2 weeks of a band's time recording a song so it sounds good, but then the actual visual product, which, let's be real, like, I'm all for visual art, like video, but it's not music, right? It's not the musicians there for. Takes up more time and more money than the song itself, simply because of the attraction it brings. I feel like there's a balance. The balance is off there.
That's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
It is.
But the problem is that record went before Spotify, before I guess the oversaturation of independent artists, is that we used to get fed a lot of our music. So musicians in general couldn't afford this. It was a lot of record companies that were like, okay, we're going to pick your single, we're going to pick who's going to direct the video. So I guess in that sense, but now with that whole media thing, I run off of the whole thing of there's no excuse these days. Everybody's phone can film at least 1080p at a fucking minimum. Every band that is out should have a fucking video clip.
Yeah.
Every band, like, film yourselves mucking around in practice studios, film yourself mucking around recording, film yourself mucking around at shows.
Yeah. And filming everything is important too. You know, like, you film every show from at least one angle if you can. Because if you're playing to a click track, bam, you've got
Yeah.
you've got instant stuff there, right? And there's
Yeah.
like there's shortcuts to make it a little bit easier for yourself, I guess. But it's
See, the
yeah,
content
I agree
creation,
that the
yeah.
problem. I agree. This is something that we've touched on in the podcast quite a few times as well. It's just it's a major issue, and it's the kind of thing that is unfortunately just part of the game now, and there's not really any way around it. You either have to be part of it or consciously say, I'm not going to give a fuck about any of that, and
just do my own thing.
And just accept that, you know, it's going to reduce your chances of broadening your broadening your audience at a faster pace, basically.
The worst part about it is you talk to any 15 to 20-year-old at the moment, it's just like second nature. It's like, oh no, this is what happens. Like for us, we sort of just saw the cusp of where music was. We were still waiting in line to buy CDs and concert tickets and shit like that. And there was still some physicality and some, if you wanted something, you had to go and sort of get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you wanted that CD, unless you were sort of rolling the dice, going herpes roulette on your computer with LimeWire, you know what I mean? Or whatever it was back then. But now it's just everything all the time, you know?
Yeah.
What have you been in, Mooney?
Yeah, tell me.
Mine's much more trivial. Just as an introverted person, just the idea of, you know, who you know gets you into different avenues, like getting gigs and stuff, having to go and actually talk to someone and be like, hey, want to put us on a gig?
Yeah.
If there was like a way to be less socially awkward about that, that'd be awesome.
A bit more on merit and a little bit less on who you know. But again, we see the necessity. It's just, it'd be more fun if it wasn't.
But that's a great thing about social media though now.
Yeah,
You want to talk about that merit. If you got those numbers,
yeah, that's
and
it.
you can hand them in, you're more likely to get it off someone that has 10 or 20,000 less. And if you don't know the guy and you got the numbers, you're more likely to get it. So I guess there's like a data point now.
Yeah.
With
The flip side of that is I'm sure you've been there, but you'll go to a show when the first band or the second band is like 10,000 followers, and you get there and they're like, don't really show up to what you expect. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Is that also
10,000 followers, but 4 people in the crowd.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
well, those ones get sorted out really pretty fucking quickly, don't they? They don't get asked to come back.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, well, look, those are some great choices there. Those are some great comments there. We really, really appreciate that. And look, we appreciate you guys for taking the time to speak to us tonight. We're really, really stoked on that. I understand you guys had a bit of an issue with your Facebook page and you kind of had to start it fresh.
And the Instagram.
And
What happened to the last martyr as well?
Yeah, they lost their thing, yeah.
Did you all get on that? Must have been that Crowbar Wi-Fi, or shouldn't say that.
Crowbar.
Yeah,
no scam.
A bit before that, we just sort of one day woke up and someone was our admin all of a sudden, changed all our, our name and our photo, and then blocked our sort of access to anything.
About a week before we dropped the single too.
Yeah. No.
Then you go to Meta, and the biggest business in the world.
You can't speak to them.
And there's no one to talk to. There's no one to say, hey, can you suss this out? You put in a ticket that goes to no one.
Yeah.
And then after a little while, they just give up and nothing happens. So that's what happened to the last martyr. It happened to us. Same thing happened, or a similar thing happened with our Instagram as well. So
they were linked,
we're basically, I don't think so, but we're basically starting from the ground up.
Starting over.
You know what I think you should do? If you want to get that old page shut down, just start posting heaps of porn on there.
We were doing that anyway. So.
No,
right.
not share, as in post it publicly.
Right. So go and follow these guys on Facebook and Instagram.
What you're made
get
of.
that following, build
Show
back
us
up.
what you're made of and hit that follow button.
Absolutely. Get out there.
What you're made of, band.
What you're made of, band. We'll put a link in the thing beneath the videos so you guys can go straight to that. Go and follow them. Check out the song that they've got out there as well. Keep an eye out for the new one, Hasta La Vista Loca, coming out.
Yep, it's all
next month.
uphill
Do we have
from
a
here. Is
date?
it
Do we have a
latest
date for it next month?
July 12th.
July 12th.
July 12th.
And there's a pre-save link, which we can put in the little video thing.
Yes.
And we can do all that good stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Save that in there.
We've also got an upcoming show at Elton Chong in Penrith. You can see it on our page or on their page. Come along. And yeah.
Have you got a date?
July 20th.
July 20th.
July 20th. Awesome.
Get the new song.
Yeah, we'll be playing the new one.
Might
Yeah,
get my
wonderful.
punk on.
Before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to say to the people?
Oh, just thank you for like checking us out. You know, we got really good reception on Spotify. You know, thanks for liking our page again after it was hacked. Obviously, we do this for ourselves, but we also like that people get involved. So thank you to the guys that support us as well.
Thank you guys so much for having us on. We really appreciate it. We're very thankful
not a problem.
for the opportunity.
Thank
it's
you
great
for-
to see you at the catastrophe.
Yeah.
It's cool to know that there's still a lot of things going on in the scene, and stoked to be a part of it.
Yep. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us tonight. You know, we really appreciate that. You know, whenever you guys make it up to Brisbane, definitely let us know. Keep us informed on that, and I'll try and come out. Even though I'll be a bit, out of place at a punk show rather than a metal show, but I'll wear my my Suicidal Tendencies hat. I'm sure it'll work out fine. Thank you very much, boys, for coming on. We appreciate that. Go and check out what you're made of. Thank you to my co-host Kyle. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.